Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Glazer, and we're going to talk about the new immigrants and something called the Chinese Exclusion Act today. So there's this group of people that we today call the Old Immigrants. They're from this portion of Europe that we call Northern and Western Europe. These are places like Great Britain, Ireland, the United Kingdom, Norway, France, Finland, so on, so on. This area in red that you see here right on this map. Uh, these places, for the most part, not all of them, but a lot of them, already have English as a language. And when they come over to America, they either already speak English or they quickly learn how to speak English and they become like everyone else pretty easily. They are, for the most part, what we will call the original Americans, the ones who came here first. They are mostly Protestant, a form of Christianity, and they are gonna assimilate easily into the American society. So assimilate means they are gonna become like the group of people that are already there. They're going to take their values. They're going to become part of the group very easily. Like if you have a new person that sits at your table in class and they fit right in right away, they assimilate very easily. So these old immigrants assimilate into this American society that exists very easily. They're Protestant like everyone else. They speak English like everyone else. They pretty much come from the same places historically like everyone else. They assimilate. But then we have the new immigrants. The new immigrants are from the opposite parts of Europe, the southern and eastern parts, down here in the yellow, or if we look over here instead, in the blue. So this could be Russians, this could be Croatians, people from the Balkans region, so on, so on. These people are most likely not going to speak English. Italians, so on, so on. They are not all Christian. They might have some form of Christianity. They might believe in Catholicism. They might be Catholics. They might believe in Orthodox religions. But they're not Protestant, so they're not like all these other Americans. For this reason, they're not easily going to assimilate. They're not easily going to become like the Americans right away. And for the most part, a lot of them aren't going to really want to right away. They're not going to be involved in politics. They're not going to do things traditional Americans are going to do. They're kind of going to stay secluded in their own parts of America, in their own parts of the cities that they immigrate to. And most of them are going to come to America because of the industrialization boom that we've been having, that we've already talked about, that's happening in these cities with things like the Bessemer process, where iron is quickly turned into steel, things like the telephone that are being created, electricity with the light bulbs, the railroad industry, so on, so on. They want work, they want to be able to improve their lives, leave Europe, and become Americans. But they don't want to assimilate right away. So what this leads is to an increase in what we call nativism. So nativism is basically the distrust or the disliking of immigrants. You like people that are native to your country, as you see it here is in your root. So if you believe in nativism, you're what we call a nativist. Dislike, distrust of foreigners, immigrants, people that are different, in other words. Nativists aren't a good thing. So nativists believe that these foreigners, these immigrants, are taking American jobs, that they're coming here, they're stealing, in a sense, from the real Americans. I have the air quotes on real right there. The real Americans. And these jobs should be, in their mind, reserved for them. And they don't want these other people to take them. And they also believe that these immigrants, I'm not saying all of them do, but that's the generalization we're making. And a lot of these nativists also don't like that the new immigrants are coming here and they're not trying to assimilate. They're not quickly learning English. They're and not converting to Protestantism. They're not participating in American values. Think baseball games, the foods that we eat, that type of stuff. They want them to be, if they're saying if you're coming here, you should become like us. Whereas other people might say, Americans should take some values from immigrants. Just two different perspectives. So let's look at this political cartoon that came out at the time. In the back, we have these shadows, and these shadows, you could tell, these people look poor. They're kind of in rags than the people that are standing in front of them. They got these crummy looking clothing. He's carrying a sack on his back. This guy's selling something back here, carrying bricks or something, maybe a brick worker. And then we have in front of them these richer looking people. They got top hats, big overcoats, nice gloves, monocles, glasses. Definitely some rich people back here. So these people behind them are cast as shadows coming from them. And they're standing at a dock, as we can see right here. And look who's coming in. It's an immigrant. So is it an old immigrant or a new immigrant? Well, if we look at these guys, this guy in particular, he is putting his hands up like, no, stop, you can't come in. So we could assume that it's a new immigrant, and that these people don't want him to come in. They don't want him to come in and take jobs. They don't want him to come in because he's not going to assimilate. Maybe they don't want him to come in because he's poor, because most new immigrants were more likely to be poor. They don't want him here for the most part. So these people are the nativists. They don't want him in here. They don't want him coming in. And that's pretty much it. Except for the main point, which I forgot, that these shadows are who these people used to be. That's why they're cast as shadows. Either who they used to be or who their ancestors are. And it's showing that these people once weren't rich. That maybe they were more like this guy. Maybe this is when they were old immigrants, when they had just come here from Europe, and they also didn't have a lot of money, but now they've done the same thing that this guy's trying to do. He's trying to come here for a better life, and he wants to be successful, and obviously they were able to become successful. So it's a little hypocritical that they're like, no, you can't come in, even though they once came in as well and benefited from America. So these are nativists trying to stop this new immigrant from Southern or Eastern Europe from coming in and taking advantage of America, either through jobs or so on and so on. Okay. We also have a group of, so that mostly happened on the East Coast, over on this way. This is where the urban areas are, where manufacturing is, where industrialization is happening. This is where most of the old immigrants would come. Cities like New York City and Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Virginia, so on and so on. So over on the West Coast, though, it was a different story. We can imagine that Asia is right over here, and a lot of Asian immigrants, Chinese immigrants, would come over to the West Coast. And the story's kind of the same thing. So these Asian immigrants came for what was going on in the West at this time, where we had mining, we had railroads being built, we had the gold rush, and they came to work in those fields, since there was not a lot of manufacturing and urbanization and industrialization over here. Still kind of rural. There might be a little urbanization happening, but not much. So the Chinese immigrants come over here, and Americans right away are like, no, these guys are taking these jobs that we think should belong to us. Nativists don't want them here. And they definitely did not believe that Chinese immigrants were coming into the country to assimilate. And they did not want them here because of that. And they really took a more of a racist turn towards these immigrants because they looked a lot different than the Southern and Eastern immigrants that were the new immigrants. They really didn't like them. So it became so bad that the United States passed something called the Chinese Exclusion Act, and we could see some examples of what that actually did. So right here we have Uncle Sam, who represents America, kicking these people that are drawn in kind of a racist way out of America right here, and trying to push them out. And that's exactly what the Chinese Exclusion Act is going to do. It's going to exclude any Chinese from coming in to America, stop Chinese immigration and stop it. You could see how they even draw the sun in the distance. This is the California coast, and across the ocean would be China. So representing that over that direction is China. And Uncle Sam is kicking them out, making them return to China, excluding any more from coming in. Over in this political cartoon, it's a little different. There's the Golden Gate of Liberty right here, which doesn't exist. It's saying liberty means freedom. This represents the United States. If that's not your only clue, over here, there's American flag showing that behind this gate is America. And here we have another Chinese person who's been barred out, the only one barred out, who's not allowed to come in. And they're straight up stopping him from coming in. They're saying no communists, socialists are they're saying those people are welcome, but guess who's not welcome? Chinese. So the US, because the Chinese are taking jobs, they're not assimilating, is kicking out these immigrants.